Hi there, this is Dave and welcome to our review of Eternights, to be released for the PS4 and 5 as well as PC over on the Steam tomorrow. And there is a physical release slated on for later this year during the holiday season as well. Before we do get started though, I would like to thank Studio Psy for a key for this review. Now, the quickest and easiest way for me to just give a quick and dirty description of Eternights is to say that if you took Persona, but gave it action combat, then added in some blood, gore, and a little bit of smuttiness for good measure, then you'll have this game. It's definitely an interesting take, but how does it all pan out? Come with me, and let's find out. First things first, there are two things that I want to say just for full disclosure. I played Eternights on the PC, where it does feature full controller support, as well as a constant autosave, and a choice of 3 different difficulty levels. And while you might think that this game could be a walk in the park, it's not. I played it on easy mode and I died. A lot. I think that I counted like 15 plus game overs in my playthrough. I can't be so sure because by the end they all just kind of blended together into pure rage and frustration. And that brings me to my second point that I want to talk about. While the full game lasts anywhere between 10 to 14 or so hours, which is admittedly short, I myself, personally, couldn't get past more than 3. And that last hour was me just pushing through with sheer willpower, pain, hate, and frustration. But at the end of the day, I had to hang it all up for my own sanity. That's really a shame, because I wanted to like this game. I went into it with some high hopes. I even spoke to my friend Taylor over at the Gaming Shelf, who said that he was just digging this game. So I was looking forward to it, and I popped it in after I was done with Sea of Stars. But let me tell you, this is no Sea of Stars. This has some good ideas and some enjoyable moments, but ultimately, it was the boring hallway environments and the incredibly dark areas, as well as the god-awful combat system that did it in for me. Oh my god, y'all, the combat is just maddening. And before y'all come at me saying that I should just turn up the brightness, this is the game at max brightness. So if you have old eyes like me, you're just screwed. But let's start at the beginning, with the story. And boy, is it off to a slow start. It's going to be a good hour or so before you can truly get into the meat of the gameplay, which is essentially 10% of the entire game. You begin in your apartment with your friend Shani, and the two of you are discussing your love lives, or at least your lack thereof. So he signs you up for a dating app, and that's one of her tits. And I call her that because the picture on the dating app is literally just her tits. She contacts you. The bitch is absolutely batshit crazy, but you're some kind of moron, so you decide to meet up with her anyway. I don't know why, but despite being 2 good-looking guys, the game just paints y'all as like complete losers. The next day, though, the world inexplicably comes under a curse, which turns everyone into monsters, and it surrounds the city behind a wall. That is, everyone except for you and Shani, so you both decide to run off to a shelter and wait out the apocalypse. And it's here that Tits comes to you in a dream, where she introduces herself as Lux, an architect of light, working against her counterpart Umbra, an architect of darkness, who is attempting to awaken the stone, which is why the world has gone so haywire. She says that it's up to you to escape from the wall and stop Umbra from activating the stone and releasing chaos among the world. Then, she gives you the power to turn your severed arm into a magical sword. There is definitely some humor to be had here, and the voice acting is pretty top-notch if I do say so myself. All of the lines are voice acted, and I did get some hearty laughs out of their witty banter, but to drag it down because, nothing can actually be good in this game, I would say that about 90% of all the dialogue is unskippable. You have to sit there and wait for the voice actor to quit talking, and then a couple more seconds just for good measure before you can actually move on. That being said, the characterization and the dates were the highlight of the game. And that's saying a lot, because normally I hate dating sims. But here, the choices actually matter, and you do get immediate feedback too. Now, I don't know if that goes to show how great the dating mechanics are, or if that's just because the other portion of the gameplay, that is, the exploration of the combat, is just that craptastic. At first, I thought that I was just bad at it, and truth be told, I probably am. But when a 41-year-old man is actively getting angry and literally screaming at the screen and about ready to crush his controller, I knew that I had to put it down for my own sanity's sake. So let's talk about the combat and the exploration, because they're really one and the same, and they're both infuriating. The essence of the gameplay is just running through long, dark, narrow hallways that look exactly the same as the last long, dark, narrow hallway that you just ran through, until you finally reach a larger room that's filled up with enemies. And of course, in order to get past the larger room, you have to kill all those enemies. It's not exactly the most riveting thing that I've ever seen, but to aid in your exploration and figuring out which long, dark, narrow hallway you just have been down, there's no mini-map to help you, nor is there a larger map either. So get ready to get turned around and run in circles constantly, especially after you clear a large monster room. Oh, and I guess the reason why battles are forced here is because there's no actual real incentive to fight enemies. None of them drop any items, you don't get any gold, and experience doesn't exist either. You just kind of fight for the sake of fighting. Maybe it's just me, maybe I'm old, but this combat sucks. Like I said before, I was playing on easy, and I had well over 15 game overs in the 3 hours that I played. You're going to be pressing every single frickin' button on God's green earth whenever you fight. Unless you have the controller memorized by heart, good luck, because otherwise, you're screwed. The combat is essentially button mashing combined with quick time events. Most of the button prompts appear for like maybe a second, and if you don't press the correct button during that prompt, then you miss out. Everything here seems to revolve around quick time events. There are quick time events during the elemental attacks, quick time events doing a whirlwind attack, quick time events whenever using a confident attack, quick time events to break down barriers, and quick time events for your limit breaks. There's even quick time events during the story mode too. I guess the developer never got the memo that nobody likes quick time events. Least of all me, who has poor eyesight and even worse reflexes. Now, if the button mashing, attacking, and quick time in combat wasn't bad enough, let's talk about the evasion and the enemy design. Number 1. All the enemies look exactly the same. They're basically humans turned into monsters, but they're seemingly all identical twins. And they all have the exact same attack, where they glow red and shoot at a beam. And unless you're like the Flash or something and you've lightning quick reflexes, that beam's going to hit you and deal a pretty decent chunk of damage and then knock yo sorry ass down to the ground, where you'll stay for about a good 3 or so seconds before you slowly get back up. So if you're surrounded by multiple enemies and you get knocked down once, you might as well just wait for the inevitable game over screen to come, because the enemies will all just gang up on you while you sit there like a sitting duck. At the beginning, I could kind of deal with the combat, because barriers didn't exist. But somewhere between hour 1 and hour 2, barriers came into play, and oh my god, whose bright idea was this? And it's not just bosses who have barriers, but even normal enemies have these barriers. An enemy with a barrier is 100% completely invulnerable to all of your attacks, and the only way to deal with them is by breaking their barrier. But many times, you don't just have to break their barrier once, twice, or even 3 times. Sometimes you have to break their barrier 4 or more times, and that involves sitting there, mashing the X button, and hoping to God that you evade their attacks so that you can build up your elemental gauge. Then, once that gauge is finally built up after a couple of minutes of button mashing, then you can enter QuickTime Hell, and if you successfully pull off about 3 or so different QuickTime events, then you'll bust down 1 barrier. However, if you miss even 1 of those QuickTime events, then the elemental attack does not count, and you don't break the barrier. Also, if you use the wrong elemental attack, then it also doesn't count, and you don't break the barrier. This makes bosses not really a matter of skill, but more of a matter of, can I actually activate these stupid QuickTime events? The whole thing wears out its welcome before I even welcomed it in the door. I don't mean to belabor the point here, but there's just about no treasure to find in the dungeons besides black and white essences which you can use to power up your skills. No items, no armor, no accessories, and no equipment either. There are some block puzzles to break up the monotony, but this isn't Lufia 2, and you can cheese your way through those super easy, as well as some of the most eye-rollingly stupid stories I've ever heard, like Yuna and her friend Jisoo, who's embroiled in a scandal which involves her drinking at a bar even though she is of legal drinking age. Give me a break! Oh, and did I mention that one of your missions involves scavenging the town for tampons? And there's also an argument over who stole a porn magazine. Come on. Maybe it's just because I went straight from Sea of Stars into Eternights, but this is like going from fine caviar at a French restaurant down to a soup kitchen. The entire time I was playing it, I was really just not having a good time, and I was thinking to myself that I'd rather be playing anything else, including the much more well-done and very similar in scope and design Scarlet Nexus. So, that's it for my review of Eternights, and believe me y'all, I do not enjoy shitting all over games, but I just have to be honest, so that's all that I'm doing here. Please, let me know what you think about this game if you've played it, and let's get a discussion going on here, and let's all talk and chat about it, because I'm always in the comments too. And if you like what I do on the channel, please head on over to the Patreon to sign up for early access to my videos and behind the scenes photographs. The link to it is over in the video description. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.